All right, y'all, today is June 1st, 2021, and I want to take y'all on a scroll through the garden. I know it's been a minute since I did a video. Actually, I think this is the first time you guys will be even seeing the garden. I did record a short little video of me planting the seeds and also the potatoes. I'll tell you what, before we look at the garden, I see something else I want to cover. Take a look at this pile of leaves I have back here, right? And this pile of leaves we have, this is my go-to dandelions, right? Of course, I have these things all over the yard when I don't cut the yard for at least a week or two. But if you look at this pile, right, this is what I want to cover. This is baby chard. This is large leaf chard. It's the same thing, as just this is older than this. So this is growing out of this pile. Why? I threw this stuff in this pile. This is from last year. So the roots from last year is growing more chard, more food. So just to let y'all know, long as the roots is good, food can continue to grow. Chard is a thing that can grow, or chard is a food or a vegetable that can grow year round. In my garden, I actually grew chard during the winter time. Even when it froze outside, it got kind of withered, but only a couple days later it started to look like healthy. Chard can survive year round. So it's easy to grow. So I recommend y'all trying to grow chard. So how is it possible that this chard is growing out of this pile of leaves? As I discussed already, it's the roots from last year. But if I pull this back, right, you see, you might see some worms eventually. There you go. See that? Worms in there. You know, you see little roly-polies, stuff like that. You see life in here because there's a lot of good nutrients inside these leaves. The leaves break down and they become carbon. Okay, and so you have all this moisture built up in here, and you have those microorganisms, the good fungi, the good bacteria, the good mold, that's all thriving inside this pile. So you can even grow, you can even plant seeds inside of leaves. Plant them down in the ground here, not deep. You just lay it on the ground. You just pull the leaves back over it, and that it actually can grow. So those who don't have an actual garden, you can use this technique of growing food. There was a lady back in I don't know, a few decades ago. I want to say she discovered that method when she didn't have anyone to come and till her garden. One year, she actually realized that her what was that? She was growing asparagus, that it was still growing throughout the year. And she wondered how was that possible? And somehow, I don't know, I don't remember the full story, but she kind of came up with the concept of just throwing seeds onto the ground and just covering up with hay. Okay, hay is just broken down grass and things of that nature. Same thing as leaves. Now leaves is broken down, carbon is going to be more so broken down leaves, and grass is nitrogen. So nitrogen can be broken down grass. Of course, when you have leaves like this here, right, it's not, if you have a pile of leaves, it's not all leaves. You actually have some sticks in here, of course, but just the way you have grass in here too. You just can't see the grass because it breaks down so fine. Here's an example of some grass right here, as a matter of fact. You see this here? That's grass. Now you have some of that inside this pile. So the pile consists of grass and leaves and sticks. And of course, old vines and roots and stuff like that from last year garden. So this stuff break down and become compost. So that's the beautiful thing about leaves and grass. A lot of nutrients thriving right there. So when your leaves actually fall onto the ground, it's not always, unless you want your yard to be aesthetic, I would just mow over those leaves. Let those leaves break down and become compost. Because those broken down leaves and grass, it actually help neutralize the soil. It puts nutrients back in the earth. So that's why a backyard with broken down leaves, grinded up leaves, grass, whatever you want to call it, is a very healthy yard. And that's one of the reasons why I think that my yard grows so many dandelions. I'll bring y'all here one day after I didn't mow it, after I don't mow it for about 2-3 weeks, and as y'all see how many dandelions this yard can grow. And this is why I always have dandelions in my house. So again, now this did look better than this though, right? Chart, it did look better, but as you see, bugs just kind of got a hold to it. Okay, but that's food. Okay, yeah, it's food. So just remember that leaves is a healthy thing. That's why in the wilderness or in the forest, you see wild edibles. No one come out there and plant those different, edibles or different vegetables, whatever. They just grow naturally out of the woods, in the woods. That's why they're called wild edibles, because they grow wild. All right, so since winter back, let's go ahead and start here. As you see, we got a pool of water here, a puddle of water, because it rained pretty good over the last few days, which is also one of the reasons why I haven't really did very many videos. And also the reason why I have 3 empty spaces inside the garden. And I'll cover that as we speak. So this was originally bell peppers, but after about 3 or 4 weeks, I did not see any results, no growth. So I said, forget it. I went ahead and tilled. I re-amended this dirt and added some dirt to the top of it, just regular dirt, not any, anything bought from the store, nothing like that. So just regular dirt. So anyway, so now this is prepped for my sweet potato slips. So that's what I'm gonna do with this empty spot. I'm gonna transplant my sweet potato slips here and also in front of the garden. Okay. Now this is kale. As you see over there, they're a little bit larger than they are here. All right. And one explanation for that is the closer you plant seeds, the better the seeds, the better the vegetables thrive, or better the plant thrive. Okay, because they tend to utilize each other's energy. They get that vibe from each other, that exertive energy. So that's why you have it bigger and bushier over there than it is on this side, especially here. Because this guy here is lonely by itself. I ran out of seeds by the time I got to this side. And I will come, hopefully out here. Man, I wish I can do it this week. Plant some more seeds in the middle here and in that space there. Everywhere is empty, plant more seeds so we can get more food, more kale. Only way else I wish, because it's just been raining so much. Let me give you here. So notice I'm gonna dig my hand inside this dirt here, right? And notice when I dig my hand inside this dirt, this can become mud. See that? It becomes solid. You don't want that when you're planting seeds. You don't want the dirt to be dense. You want the dirt to be fluffy. Okay. So not to say you can't plant in this, and some of the seeds will not grow, but you kind of want to be careful with it, because once it do come out here and once it stop raining, sun come out and it dries the ground, it can become hard. Okay. And when the ground is hard, it's tough, harder for the plant to grow through it. Okay, can be dense, which is the same reason why it's hard to grow food inside just clay dirt, because clay dirt is dense. All right, we covered the kale already. Now let's cover the large patch of chard. Same thing that is back there, right here. This that I grew last year was not heirloom. Okay, that's the reason why I pulled it out of the ground, out of the garden rather. It was over there last year. That's the reason I put it up, because I decided this year that everything was going to be organic heirloom. It was organic, but it wasn't heirloom. Okay. Now, same thing here. Notice how bushy this is, right? This chart, bushy all over here, right? Because it's growing closer together. As opposed to this side over here, that's more spaced out. That's why over here, they're not as big, because they're spaced out. So when you're growing food, try to grow close together. Let me say with certain foods, not all foods, but certain foods. Okay, more so, especially your greens. Plant your greens close together. I mean, everybody may have a different technique, and what works for him may not work for you. What works for her may not work for you. Do what works for you. You got to go out here, come outside, and just kind of, trial and error. That's what I learned from trial and error. All right, so here we have my green beans, just like last year. Oh, discussing also with the chard, right? This is just I think just basic greens chard. I don't remember the name of it. Last year we had this on that side, as I stated earlier, and on this side we had rainbow chard. This is my beautiful green beans. See, notice these green beans are growing very good, very, very good. It's been about I think about 7, maybe 8 weeks now since I planted the first seeds of everything, and already we're looking real good here. Green beans are coming in, very nice. So these beans, you can actually eat them at this size here. Okay, they're more tender at that size than they are at the bigger size. But most definitely, beans that at this size here is ready to snap off, and you can go eat them within about 1 week. That'd be pretty good, pretty big rather. And just as I discussed over there with the kale, I'm going to fill in all the empty spaces. Same thing with the chard. Same thing with the green beans. Like here, all here, right? That's planting space. Okay, and I can even come in here and plant some of those empty spots. That's one that's pretty good size there, nice and mature. So you see those flowers, right? Once they start to flower, that means they're starting to grow buds. The buds are actually the beginning stage of the beans or whatever vegetable is growing. That's the beginning stage. All right, now let's get to this bushy area here. Let's jump back on this, so you can take a good shot at it, right? That is white potatoes. We have russet potatoes and we have red potatoes. I did not do golden potato this year. They're not as easy to grow, so I just chose to go with the things that's easier to grow. We got flowers here. Okay, that means something is happening. Something is happening beneath the ground. Potatoes are root vegetables. They grow under the ground. So these long things here, these long vines, are vines that grew out of the actual potato itself. We planted a total of 20 potatoes. I can't remember exactly how many. I think it may have been 8 russet potatoes and about 12 red potatoes, or it could have been 7 russet potatoes and 13 red potatoes, something like that. And again, it's been about 8 weeks since I planted this whole entire side. I tell you what, no, I planted the potatoes, the white potatoes, And the sweet potatoes, I think it was a few days later, maybe even a week later. I'll go back and see. All right, now speaking of the sweet potatoes, I only buried 3 potatoes. I buried a white sweet potato here. Okay, that's what that is. And over there, 2 orange potatoes, sweet potatoes. Now we got about, I'm not gonna count all these, but we got a few slips that's ready to pull and transplant over to the over here. So I'm gonna transplant some here and this empty spot here, and this is kind of hogging, just a space hog here. It's okay. See, pull them back, you know what I'm saying, and go ahead and plant in there too some of the sweet potatoes. Let's take a closer look from the front here. Again, this is the white sweet potatoes, and this here is a orange sweet potato, and we have here is another orange sweet potato. So it's growing out of one side of the potato, and now it's growing out of the other side of the potatoes right here. So really, it's not as many slips as I thought it would be. So I may have to come out here and plant some more potatoes. Okay, some people even have clipped these little vines here and planted those. I may even try that this year. We'll see. So the end, sweet potatoes. The beginning of the this row is going to be sweet potatoes. Now to the left side of the garden, we have here, this time we have sweet baby watermelon. Okay, they're smaller melons, very dark in color, and supposed to be sweeter. Okay, which is the only one I could find this year that was heirloom. So I just went with that one type of watermelon this year. That'd be fine. And it's not growing as fast right now as it will be here over the next, few weeks as it starts to get hotter. There's one thing about watermelon, they grow better in hotter climates than they do in cooler climates. And it's been cooler around this time of year than it usually have been. Can anybody say weather modification? All right, anyway, so now we have here, see it's flowering here already. This is cantaloupe. My wife loved cantaloupe, I love cantaloupe. So we decided to go with cantaloupe this year. Okay, too. Which is also a melon. Now they're growing pretty good. Almost look like, these cantaloupes almost look like cucumber or a squash foliage. They look way different than the watermelon foliage. You can tell watermelon because it has this leaf look like that. Okay, see how these look? The leaves are more like rounded off. Not quite like this here, but pretty close to it. Anyway, since we're here, let's discuss what this is. This is cucumbers. What is it? Oh, I can't remember whether I went with a straight 8 or a deal. I don't remember exactly what it was, but this is cucumbers. I may come out here and look at that. That's a small one growing right there. Okay. I may put these things on a drive a stick in the ground and bring them up, let them grow horizontal. Vertically instead of horizontal. I don't know. Don't hold me to it. I said the same thing last year and I didn't do it. This empty space here is going to be tomatoes. I think I have beef steak tomatoes, which are larger tomatoes. I wanted the cherry tomatoes, but I couldn't find those, and heirloom seeds. And that's the thing about heirloom or seeds in general; they're really hard to come across nowadays. That's why I recommend everybody, if you're watching this video, listen closely to me. Now is the time to start teaching yourself how to grow food, because seeds are hard to come across. All right, and Monsanto's and other companies are really pushing this GMOs nowadays. That mess is not good for you. All right. Now here we have squash. I think this is winter squash. A lot of flowers. I'm growing a little squash almost on every plant. I think we planted 9 plants, or 9 seeds total, and every seed grew. Okay, that's squash, that baby squash. Flowers and all this stuff is looking real good. Looking real good. 8 weeks. Now this is the first time I ever grown spaghetti squash. Now look how large these leaves here are. Spaghetti squash leaves, and they're nowhere near as mature as they will be. So look at that leaf, how big it is compared to the largest leaf over here, which would be this guy here, right? Planted the same day, but that leaf is about twice the size, or at least 1.5 size, times the size. But anyway, what I did not know is that these things grow like vines, like watermelon, or like cucumbers. They vine out, which would make sense, because spaghetti squash grow very, very large in size, way bigger than basic yellow squash, summer squash, or winter squash. This stuff going to be very big. So if the plant grew straight up, which is vertically, it wouldn't support the fruit or the vegetable, the spaghetti squash. So it makes sense for it to grow horizontally in vines. Okay, that way the vegetable can rest on the ground. So we have some flowers. All right, hopefully within the next couple of weeks or so we have some vegetables starting to grow. This leaf here, notice it is kind of yellowish looking. Well, why is that? 2 reasons. One reason, because this large leaf right above it is shading it out. Okay, look at that, no bugs on the bottom, so these plants are very healthy this year. And maybe because the amount of rain we got, or just the timing. I planted a lot sooner this year, about 2.5 months sooner. So one reason is because of the shading out due to this large leaf above it, and second reason because it's hanging on the ground. It's on the ground. It's against the ground, which means that it stays damp. Okay, so so you want to make sure your leaves stay in the right position, or whatever. You can't really prevent this from happening, saying all plants, it's going to happen regardless. But what I'm looking at here, right, see, we have in this root a split. I'm hoping that it's not bored out, meaning that a moth came and laid eggs on it, and the worm crawled inside of it and eats out the flesh of the vine. Okay, I hope that's not happening right there. May just split because it turned directions. It went from straight up to having wet foliage, right, which made it fall to that side. So maybe that's what it was that caused the split. This one is looking pretty good. Yep, this one looking pretty good. Same thing here. Notice here, May not be the shade above it, but the water beneath it, or not the water beneath it, but the wet mud beneath it, or that it's against rather. Because you can see that here you have darker, the leaf is dark at the top, and here it's yellow, and whatever was touching the ground is turning browning. It's browning. So you got three colors. You got green, yellow, brown, which means rottage. It's called leaf rottage. Here, same thing. This one I just picked up off the ground. Okay, so that's just a sign of overwatering. You know what I'm saying? So when it gets, just stay wet too much or too long, and we'll be getting a lot of rain here later. So rain is always a good thing, but too much of it kind of hurts the plant. All right, let's see here. Let's take a look from afar. Nice little side view. And this is what we have. We're about 20 feet away from the garden, standing beneath the pecan tree. Speaking of pecan tree, I hope I can get some pecans this year, and the squirrels will eat them all up like they did last year and in the prior years. Back to the garden. That's the garden. This video was a lot longer than I thought it would be. Started talking too much. Wanted to cover all bases. I know it's been a while since I did a video, so I had a lot to talk about. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us for this one, and I will be seeing you guys back on the next one. I'll bring y'all back when I get ready to transplant the sweet potatoes, sweet potato slips, plant the tomatoes, and that's about it. So, oh yeah, and also plant more kale, chard, and green beans seeds. So thank you guys for joining us again, as I said, and I'll catch y'all back on the next episode of 2021 Cultivation, or 2021 See My Cultivation. Y'all be good, stay healthy, stay away from these GMOs, and stick to organic. See y'all back.